All right. Good morning, everyone. We'll give folks another minute or so and we'll get started with our meeting. Good morning and welcome to the Legislative Affairs Policy and Workforce Support Monthly Call. Happy Monday. We're happy to have all of you here today and hope you are all doing well after the storm. I know we're kind of all struggling a little bit right now, but hopefully things will get back to somewhat of normal here shortly. Today's call is going to be very, very short. We're just going to talk through some certification reminders and then have some important dates for you. We hope to have more detailed information for you later on this month in the LaFASPA monthly call. So the first few things we're going to talk through is the processing protocol changes. As many of you are aware, at August BESI, a complete overhaul of Bulletin 746 was approved. As we've discussed on these previous calls, those changes that were adopted or included, I feel like we've talked about these quite a bit. We've included those changes in the appendix of this deck. Due to the massive amount of changes, there's a lot of processing protocol changes, procedures, and applications that have been changed and or will be changing. We're just going to talk through some of those changes in the next few slides. We will be participating in the LaFASPA conference at the end of this month. And so we plan to provide more detailed information at that conference and then on our October monthly call. So some of the processing protocol changes include several things. We're going to be requiring all applications be completed electronically. We are requiring 2 forms of identification. The most important piece of that is a copy of the Social Security card, and then a state ID or driver's license will be included as a backup form of ID for all applications. If it's available, we're requiring that a self-evaluation checklist is a required part of that application. We feel that this helps folks to understand whether or not they meet the requirements before applying. We've actually recently had a few folks stop once they looked at that self-evaluation and said, what do I do now? I don't meet this. And so hopefully that will save some folks some money. For PL applications, of course, the change in policy has been made that that submission of those applications will be required to be done through the program provider. As a part of that, we're asking or requiring that a plan of study be submitted with all PL initial applications. And then for PL renewals, of course, it would be a copy of that transcript for university or college providers, and then an updated plan of study for those renewals. We also have new office hours process, a new appeals email address. We hope to, at some point, be able to decrease our processing time. Right now, we have a couple of things that are working against us. We're down a few staff members, of course, the hurricane, so many different things, these weather closures. So we are behind a little bit, but we hope as we onboard new folks, we'll be able to decrease our processing time and provide clarity in our written feedback. And we want to be able to provide some additional services as time goes on and our staff permits. couple of things about the applications. We are working on new applications now that policy has been approved and it's in effect. We're publishing the updated versions of each application as those revisions occur. They're being posted. We always encourage you to use the most current application available on teachlouisiana.net. You just go there and down the most current application. However, we've been providing some grace, and we will continue to accept the version of the application that was available on July 31st through September 30th, meaning that beginning October 1, all certification submissions will be required to be on the new form. They'll be required to be completed electronically, and they'll be required to include a copy of the driver's license and social security card. That's as of October 1st. Right now, the way that we're working off of, if the application has been updated to say that it needs to include a copy of the driver's license and social security card, then that's what we're looking for. And if it's not included, it'll be bumped back. But by October 1st, everything will have to be on the new form, and we'll need them to be completed electronically and a copy of a driver's license and social security card, no matter what. So that means that after October 1st, on or after October 1st, older versions of those applications will be returned unprocessed. We're trying to make it simple for everybody involved, to where we include revision dates on both the application and on the website to help you determine if you have the latest version of the application. And then, of course, please always go to teachlouisiana.net prior to submission on Teach Live to download the most current version of any application that you have. Some of our new office hours protocol, we're trying to provide written feedback in addition to the conversation that we have with you all on the phone. And so we ask that you follow these steps when you're scheduling an office hours call. For those of you that are HR, log into your HR account online teacher certification portal. You'll use the Ask a Question feature. It's at the top of the ribbon across the page. You'll choose in that drop down office hours. If you're talking about just one person and that's all you have to speak about, you can, of course, enter their certificate number or their type of certificate and their name in the other relevant boxes. But if you're talking about several folks, you can skip all that and just choose the office hours option. And then in the notes section or the question section, you're actually going to submit whatever question, case number, candidate name, the specifics about what your questions are. You're going to submit that in that section of the Ask a Question feature. Then you'll submit that question and you'll receive a case number. So then you'll use the online scheduler, and in the office hours scheduler, once you choose your time, you're going to put that particular office hours question case number in that reservation. That will give us some time to preview the questions that you have and maybe research what your the case that you're looking into or that you have questions about. But it'll also provide us a space in which we can, after we have the conversation with you and work out the details and the solution, we want to have a place where we can respond to you specifically for those questions in writing, so that you have something in writing from us as to what the guidance was. That way there's no confusion. We know these days everyone is busy and everyone is behind, and COVID and now hurricane. People's memories aren't great, and so we want to make sure that we have the answers for you in writing. So that's what we're asking you to do with your office hours scheduling these days. Something else that's a little bit new, it's kind of similar to what we've been doing in the past, but we just want to make sure to remind you that whenever you're adding or removing an HR user, there is an HR signature form available on Teach. And so you would complete those fields electronically. And then this is the one form that you actually would physically sign. And that needs to include anyone and everyone that is going to have access to sign off or to submit those applications for your district. Then you'll upload that document to the online portal as application type, authorized signatures. That is the drop-down option. And then within the notes of that case, you can indicate a specific human resource, contact, the needs, whether you need to add somebody, remove somebody, whether we need to update Teach Live, teachlouisiana.net, and then you can actually schedule office hours, and we can talk through if we're transitioning one account to another, or if we're just adding folks, and we can talk through all those specifics there. Are there any questions? Let me check in the chat and see if there's any questions. Please feel free to unmute yourself if you have any questions, or type in the chat. Again, today's call is just a quick reminder for a few things. It's not very detailed, very short. All of the other changes with applications and all that we're making, we hope to have that all ready for you for the LSASPA conference, and then we'll provide it to you all who don't participate in the LSASPA on our October monthly call. Let's see. Pam, if we have PL applications that were submitted prior to the change to providers submitting, are those being processed as is? Yes, ma'am, they absolutely are. There was a bit of confusion. iTeach sent out a communication that had some incorrect information and said that we removed all those applications. We did not, and so I reached back out to iTeach, and they were supposed to correct that communication, and hopefully they have. But to answer your question, Pam, if PL applications were submitted prior to the change in policy by you all as HR contacts, those will be processed as is. Yes, ma'am. Any other questions? All right, I don't see any other questions in the chat, so we will move on to the summary. Oh, there's a question that popped up. Is there any guidance about older tests as it relates to current certification? Generally speaking, Clark, the way that works is if the test or exam was taken and passed during an adoption period by Bessie, we will accept that exam for certification purposes. We are actually trying to work on, in addition to all these other applications and forms that we are redoing, we are trying to work on a historic listing of all the praxis exams that were adopted by Bessie. But as you can imagine, over the years, that's a very lengthy list. And so it's going to take quite some time to get that updated and current, but we do plan to have that in the future. But if you have any question about anybody and the exam that they took, generally speaking, if you log in to your HR account, teachlouisiana.net, and you can see the praxis exam scores, or they may be NTE exam scores, and it shows that it's a passing score, that means that it's in our database as a passing score, and so we would accept that. Will the reading specialist certification count towards the new literacy course requirements? That is a great question. That is one I'm going to have to get with the literacy team on to be sure. So is that Suzanne? Yeah, Suzanne, I'll have to get back to you on that one. I will take that one down, and we'll get with the literacy team to see if that is going to count. I am not sure. Great question. So reading specialist. Any other questions? Okay, will driver's license and social security have to be submitted with TA applications as well? Yes, a copy of those will need to be submitted with TA applications as well. Right now, that's the only change that's going to be made to the TA application at the moment. However, As some of you were aware, there was some proposed legislation in the past session. It was deferred to the next session. So there's a possibility that there will be some other changes to TAs in the future. We just don't have that fleshed out yet because it kind of depends on the changes that may or may not occur in the law. But for now, yes, driver's license and Social Security will need to be submitted with TA applications as well. Any other questions? All right, great questions this morning. We will move on to the call summary and important dates if no one has any other questions. Just some important dates for you here. September 21st is the Non-Public Schools Council. That's tomorrow. And then later on this week on the 23rd, the Superintendent's Advisory Council is being held. Of course, October 1 is the deadline for use of previous application versions. October 4th is the Accountability Commission meeting. October 12th and 13th is the BESI Committee board meeting this month. Well, for October. And then March 31st, of course, is that last date for the middle school science exam to be able to be used. What I've also linked for you here in this particular deck are the past monthly calls if you need to see any of the other information. And then as an appendix in this particular deck, it also goes through what we've gone through in past calls as well.
And Christy, I would add one thing. Couple of updates to the call summary. The September 21st Non-Public Schools Council meeting has been postponed, as well as the September 23rd Superintendent's Advisory Council meeting. There's a lot of our members are from Southeastern Louisiana, and they are tending to their school district, so we've decided to hold off on those. Also, we have a social studies standards review meeting this coming Saturday, September 25th. It's correct, Saturday, here at the Claiborne Building in Baton Rouge. The steering committee will be reviewing the content standards once more, and this will be live streamed over YouTube as well, if you would like to watch that meeting. Also, the one thing I will add as well is if you are in a district that was severely impacted by Hurricane Ida, please reach out to us if you're in need of any sort of regulatory flexibility, policy waivers to Bulletin 741 or any other bulletin. Reach out to me directly. My email is ryan.n.grimion, or you can give me a call. We can walk you through that process, but we're glad to help you all as you all bounce back from Hurricane Ida. And if there's any flexibility we can elevate to BESI, we're more than happy to do that for you all. That's all I have.
All right, if there are no more questions, thanks everybody for participating on the call today. Hopefully we will see you at LaSaspa, and stay safe. Happy Monday.